Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Mark. Grim couldn't be with us today, but he left me a story to tell you. This story comes from Cody from the northeastern United States. He writes, I have always been religious. My family and I have always attended church every Sunday. I have always trusted that God would set me on the right path. Although this might seem unimportant, it's important to me, because I do not understand why what I'm about to tell you happened to me. I wish I could forget, but it hasn't happened, and although this is the only time I have experienced such events, it has left a long-lasting mark on my life. After a year in college, living in a dorm room had become expensive, so me and a group of friends decided to room together and look for a home to rent. It was me and 3 others in a 2-bedroom home. My friends and I were always in and out, and since we had found a home close to our campus, we would often leave the door unlocked so our friends could walk in as they pleased. We had never had a problem with intrusion, because one of us would always be home due to our different schedule. As a matter of fact, it went from us stressing out on paying tuition for our dorm room to having it fun in a place that we had made our own. 6 months had passed and everything was going great. No complaints from anyone. It was March and it was Tuesday. I remembered because I was the only one home and had no class till the next day, but worked later that afternoon. It wasn't uncommon for one of my roommates or friends to skip class to hang out with me, or plainly just to come home early. Around 7 a.m., I was still sleeping. The sun was bright enough to peer through my window to wake me up. That's when I heard the floorboard creaking in the hall, followed by laughter. Immediately I thought it was one of my friends. I ignored it, but the laugh grew louder, and I could not recognize anyone I knew from the voice. That's when I began to worry. Half afraid, I thought it was a thief who had entered our home. I gathered my strength and decided to go check. As I walked out onto the hallway, stepping slowly as not to make a noise, I saw something standing in the living room, facing away from me. Then it turned around to look at me. It had a horrible face, very pale and angry, and distorted. It began to laugh, evilly. I thought it was one of my friends playing a trick on me. I began to laugh with it, and I said, "Okay, you got me." Next thing I know, the figure moved from 7 feet away from me, or about 3, and it continued laughing. And I knew it was one of my friends. That's when I began to run the opposite direction toward the kitchen. I could hear its footsteps behind me. I began to scream, "Help! Help! Help!" I was so afraid, my heart began to race. It felt like it was going to burst out of my chest. As I began to jiggle the knob from the back door, my hands were sweating, and I was having trouble unlocking it. The footsteps had stopped, and I looked behind me. It was standing at a close distance. It began to laugh. Its laugh was so loud, I felt like I was being engulfed in it. I fell to the floor from fear. I was on the brink of tears, when out of nowhere, I began to recite St. Michael's prayer. After reciting it over 6 times and heard nothing but silence, I opened my eyes, and the figure had vanished.
Thank you for joining me through my journeys into the unknown.